Hello, hello, hello. Have you ever wanted to take your personal expertise, your personal story, and share that in a way that could be turned into a business and then turned into money for your family? Have you ever wanted to start a business but had no idea if you had the skills or the knowledge or anything even to sell that someone would want to buy? Have you written a book, or perhaps you're a speaker and you know that you have an audience and maybe a few products, but you've yet to figure out how to leverage that audience and turn that into financial freedom for your family? Well, have I got something fun for you? My name is Lisa Canning. I'm a mom of 8 gorgeous kids, author of the book, The Possibility Mom, How to Be a Great Mom and Pursue Your Dreams at the Same Time. And I'm coming at you on this impromptu live. We just decided to do this video this evening to share with you what it means to have a personal brand and what that can mean for you and your family in terms of launching a business and a platform. So let's start by defining what it means to have a personal brand, or what is a personal brand. A personal brand is essentially what people think of you when your name comes up. Like, what is the automatic image or few words that someone has when your name comes to their mind? So, for example, Oprah. I think that it's a fairly universal thing that people know her for. You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car, or her very loud, like, hello, whatever, right? Steve Jobs, when you think of him, you might think Apple, you might think the iconic black like turtleneck that he would wear. You might think the glasses. I'm trying to think of another, like, fairly Aretha Franklin. You might think big hair, you might think singer. Everybody who has a public platform will have a series of attributes that come to them, which you get to tell the story of. And so what this means on the more micro level. So obviously, if you are a celebrity or you have a grand platform like Oprah did or does, it's easier to get that story of who you are out there. But on the more micro level, where maybe you have an Instagram account, or you have a blog, or you have a YouTube channel, there are things that you can do and you can say that craft how someone thinks of you on the other end, so that you become being known for a certain set of characteristics or a certain set of topics. For example, I have so many different favorite Instagram accounts and YouTube influencers that I can think of, where pretty quickly I don't have to think too hard about, okay, yeah, I come to Heather at A Catholic Mom's Life for parenting, for real life Catholic insights. I go over to somebody like Jennifer Fulwiler for humor, for satire, for goofy things like her in a hot dog costume, all that kind of stuff. And I hope you come over here to me for hope, for positivity, for mindset, and for personal development. And then maybe a little bit of, babies and interior design things, maybe a little bit of mental health and marriage along the way as well. So we have the ability, by posting on Instagram, by posting to stories, by uploading YouTube videos, to tell a story. And that's essentially what personal branding is. It's the telling of a story. Okay, so how do you figure out what your story is? Well, how do you figure out who you are and what's important to you, and what that makes sense, like, in the context of having and growing an audience? Well, there's a couple things that I think we need to keep in mind. So number one, who we are. And there's a few ways that we can get into our personal story and to kind of highlight or mine our own experience for what's important to us. One way is to think about your obituary, or a legacy statement, or if you were to be cheersed at your retirement party, for example, at the age of 65, what do you hope your life's work has stood for? What do you hope your time on this planet has meant? What do you hope is the impact of your legacy in our short time here on Earth? And so It's a exercise that I have talked about a lot on this channel. It's one of the first exercises I give in my book, The Possibility Mom. And I think it's a really clear way to just, in a short amount of time, have a focus on what's important to you and how you want to be remembered. And I got this exercise long ago from a book that Daniel Harkavy and Michael Hyatt wrote called Living Forward. So that's one way to get some clarity on what is truly important to you. Another way is to draw the timeline of your life. This is another exercise that I read or I presented in my book. And it is a really interesting way to look at the highs and the lows of your life and how that has all amounted to who you are today. So you literally essentially take a line on a piece of paper and you go from the beginning to now. What have been the peaks? What have been the valleys? What in what times were you most yourself? In what times was there struggle? What did you learn about yourself and all the struggle? That reflection of the ups and downs and the peaks and valleys and the somersaults and whatnot of your story can be really helpful to also clarify who you are and what's important to you. And then a third question that I think is really, really helpful in this whole concept of personal branding and what's important to you is, what do you fight for? Or what do you wish everyone knew about X, whatever topic that you feel really passionate about? And I remember I reflected on this in a program Marie Forleo has called B School. And that's where I first heard this question, what do you fight for? That was the very first time that I had ever been asked that question. And I just remember the something about the phrasing of the question, of course, and what have you, just really like a fire with me as I typed my response. And just that sense of like, what do you fight for, I think is a very powerful way to think about a topic or a cause in your life. And the cause doesn't have to be like an external cause in the sense like, oh, I'm fighting for this, charity, or I'm fighting for, it can definitely be a concept, from motherhood to matter. I'm fighting for moms to see hope with motherhood. I'm fighting for moms to see their personal goals and dreams, and do that while being great moms at the same time. And so it can definitely be a concept that you are fighting for. And when it comes to personal branding, when you think about it, it kind of should be. Definitely a part of it should be a concept that really gets to the core of somebody. All right. If you have questions about what this means, what is personal branding, how do you build a personal brand, go ahead and type them in the chat and I will answer them for you here live. Okay. So that's the first thing, is what is important to you? Who are you? What is your unique story? The second piece in this whole personal branding conversation is, who are you serving? So who is it that you are excited to help? Who is it that, based on your unique experience, you think you can help someone else heal? Someone else in the personal development space, his name is Brian Dixon. I'm going to butcher the quote, but something along the lines of, your area of greatest pain will be the area in which you help people the most. And I think that's so incredibly true. I know that's incredibly true for me. The area of greatest pain, I would say, well, I have several areas, but I definitely had an area of great pain around work and life and what that looked like. I've told the story many times of my minivan meltdown and how frustrated I felt at God in the sort of just like the fight almost of my work ambitions and the dreams that I felt that he had clearly put in my heart, because they kind of weren't going away. And then all the children that kind of kept coming along. And so that was an area of great pain for me, understanding how to reconcile those two things. Can they be reconciled? And what does that look like in practical application? And then number two, of course, we've been very open and transparent here on this channel, is mental health in marriage and supporting a spouse with mental illness. And so there is no shortage of stories, I guess, we have of pain. from various times in our lives when mental illness has been very challenging to navigate. But then on the other side of that, we can see, especially in the comments here on YouTube, that apparently the videos are helpful to people. So just, I do love that quote by Brian Dixon, that your area of greatest pain will be the area in which you'll help people the most. But we got to figure out what kind of people are we helping, right? And the clearer that we can get our story and the things that are important to us to those specific people, the better. Let me give you an example of a period in my life where it wasn't really working. So I did for a very long time interior design. And so of course I had built this audience that was mainly showing up for my interior design tips and tricks. And when I decided to pivot to motherhood content, I remember it was a little bit of sort of growing pains. Like there was I think a little bit of confusion. There were some people who were definitely happy to come alongside, but then there were a lot of people who were also very confused about what was happening. And so of course people started unsubscribing, but that's what we want. We want people to either get on the bus or get off the bus. And that's when I think we have a really strong personal brand. When somebody can come to your website or to your Instagram and feel like, oh yes, this is for me, or oh no, you know what, this isn't for me, yay, wish you well. And so the more that we can tailor our messages to the people that we think need them, the stronger our personal brand is going to be. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 in this whole concept of personal branding and how to create it is how do you help them? So we talked about who are you? We've talked about who do you help? And then number 3, how do you help them? Now, if you have a business already, for example, if you're a speaker or an author, or maybe both, you probably already have a way that you help them. You may have developed your own methodology that you've turned into a book. You may have the book itself. You may have your own programs or courses that you've developed based on what you have written or you speak on, or maybe you haven't done that yet, but you want to. That's the way you help them. If you are not doing anything for money at the current time, and it's your blog is the way that you help them, by giving how-tos, by giving step-by-steps, by giving free, beautiful Stephanie Weinert does these incredible monthly giveaway homeschooling resources that are just so incredible. Anyway, that's the way that she helps people. Or maybe you have thinking of Stephanie Weinert again, maybe you have a beauty counter business. And so you want to be introducing people to your beauty counter business. That's the way you help people. We have to have a really clear sense of how. So typically the how might be your book. It might be courses that you've developed or you're going to develop. It might be services like, maybe you own a salon, or maybe you own a spa, or what have you. So it could be an actual service, or it could be something completely free. That for now, that is where you're channeling people. But you have not yet to charge money for it, which is completely okay. But regardless, whether it's something that you charge money for or not, we have to make sure that people know it exists. And so we have to mention in our regular content, in our emails, in even the signature of our emails that we send regularly, we have some kind of what is sort of business speak of call to action. And like I said, that call to action can be something that is something you pay for, but it can also be something that is completely free, like a blog or a podcast. But we're always reminding people of how we help. And these 3 things, the clarity on who we are, the clarity on who we help, the clarity on how we help them. And of course, this 3rd one can go, like we could do a whole hour video on the ways that we help. These are the 3 components of a personal brand. And so if this is interesting to you and intriguing, I want to invite you into something that's starting tomorrow. Tomorrow, Monday, November I think it's the 16th tomorrow. Let me just check. Yes, tomorrow. November 16th, I am starting a free challenge. It's called Creating a Personal Brand You Can bank on. That begins tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. There is a Facebook group and a sign up that you need to join. So the link will be right here below in the details. And it is completely free. There are already some incredible women inside. And this is for anyone who is developing a personal brand or desires to have a personal brand. So this is for you if you have a dream of a business, but you've never started. This is for you oh my gosh, I'm sorry guys, it's late. This is for you if you have an established business, but have yet to see maybe the scale or the mobilization that you desire. This is for you especially if you are a speaker or an author and you want to diversify the way that you serve your audience, diversify the products that you have currently. This is for you if you even have just like anything, a blog, a podcast, an Instagram account, something that you're passionate about. You're not sure if this is really the time for you to jump in with both feet, but you're intrigued by this concept of building an audience and building a personal brand. Just come on over. You've got literally nothing to lose and so many things to gain. This is one of the things I wish I had known many years ago when I had just been starting out and was afraid to be a bit more personal, was afraid to share myself more, and was afraid to ask people to do things, ask people to subscribe or ask people to follow me on certain platforms. Sometimes we don't do things. Like I am a fan of many different people, but sometimes you're scrolling or whatever. You might not think, oh yeah, I should follow them on, like to know, for example, or I should subscribe to their email list. Sometimes we just need to be reminded. And so these are some of the things that we'll be talking about in my free challenge that begins tomorrow. Go ahead and click the link below in order to sign up and join me. And I would love to know in the comments, is starting a business or starting a platform something that you are excited about? Tell me, and I would love to help you on your journey. I want to close just by saying that the cool thing about personal branding is that you are unrepeatable. I think that it's such a fascinating space. The online space can be challenging. I was asked recently, how do I deal with competition, or how do I deal with, watching others in the similar space do similar things? And honestly, I'll just be very frank. Number one, this is part of my training in the women's school. In the women's school, we definitely have a culture of collaboration over competition. That's a whole other story. But so I definitely would say that I've got some mindset training around being collaborative. But number two is that we are unrepeatable. Like you are created uniquely by God, and your story, the conflicts in your life, the highs, the lows, all of it are there and are valuable and are part of your story. And so there's nobody else in the world like you. Nobody. And this is why I think that there's room for all in this kind of business, because you'll hear something from me one way and it might not sit well, but you might hear it from somebody else and then it'll be like totally fits. Or somebody else will invite you to a product and you might be like, no thanks. But then I might have a different lens or a different spin on it, and then you might accept the invitation. It's just you, because you are unrepeatable. There's room for all. Alrighty, so just click that link. There is absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain by joining me in the challenge. There is already an incredible group of women who are over there. So come on over, and I would love to see you in my Creating a Personal Brand You Can Bank On free challenge. All right, guys, always in your corner.